this computer, this guy says this computer just shuts off randomly. And check some stuff real quick. Yeah. So one of the first things I want to look at is like what's going on in here. So this is the vent for the fan. Yeah, so I don't know yet, Emily. That's what it's supposed to look like. That's what it does look like. So and you can kind of see the curve that it follows, which is, you know, the actual fan blades. So it's not a good look. Let's go blow it out real quick. See what we have. See what we get. So now, after just running a little air through it, see, instantly cleaned. It's your tech tip for the day. Blow out your fan holes if you got them. All right, so this laptop is going to have screws that are different lengths depending on where they are. So what your best bet is to try and have like a system, like I like using, like I have this mat that I got from Gamers Nexus that has this kind of layout here. To kind of, on a laptop, kind of make a square and figure out where everything kind of goes. So you don't end up in a situation where putting the wrong screw in the wrong hole and literally shoving a screw through the bottom of the case, which would be a problem. Well, now that I'm getting these out, it's looking like these might all be the same length. That'd be nice. Okay. So we got all the screws out of the bottom. We're going to take the hard drive out now, which looks like it's going to involve 4 screws on it. Set these off to the side, and we're going to keep them together. So, yep, 2 screws holding it in. And just a little bit of... There's a ribbon cable that you can unplug to make this a little safer. We're going to keep that off to the side. We're going to put these 2 screws onto it. Now, underneath this bottom panel, which was, again, it had a single captive screw in it, we are going to remove all of the screws and put them on here so we know that this is where they go. So now we're getting into a space of there are different size screws. And we just want to make sure we kind of remember where these different size screws go. So on this one here, this is one where, again, like kind of like the Toshiba I looked at yesterday, we're going to need to remove the keyboard to get this apart. Just want to make sure I got all the screws out from about the bottom here. There's a lot of holes. All right. So now, keyboard. Let's see if we can. There we go. Get a little tool underneath there. We're just gonna have to, I guess, double check that there's no. Or am I wrong again? Maybe I'm wrong again. That'd be nice. Oh, I see one screw that I missed up here by the battery, so I might be wrong, which would be very nice because I very much dislike having to pull out the keyboards on these. You end up having to bend them. We'll see here. Definitely looks like there's screws under the keyboard. But also, this is one of the models where I guess I need to remove the Wi-Fi card. Some laptops you actually have to remove the Wi-Fi card to get them apart, so just older ones typically. I'm just going to pull these cables. Yeah, so there's just a little piece of plastic that holds that down. So it's got to be under. Hello, Kirby. Freebie? All right, let's see here. My only thing is it feels like there's a screw holding it together. I guess let's take a look under the ram, see if there's a screw under the ram. That'd be strange. Yeah, there's not. And like I said, I see no more screws actively holding this thing together from the bottom, because it mostly wants to come apart. Usually it's an indicator, like I said, that there's screws underneath the keyboard that need to come out. Keep going back and forth on this. This guy is held together quite well. I'm definitely seeing a little bit of liquid on the bottom of this, which is interesting. No, there was no more screws holding it in. This is the screw I'm looking for. So yeah, I was right. Yeah, all the screws on the back that needed to come out came out. Put that with that. And then we just have one screw under the keyboard. I'm assuming what was, like, you can kind of see like how this has a little bit of discoloration on it. Like how some parts are shiny, some parts aren't. Like, I'm thinking that there was a little bit of liquid spilled onto this, but it doesn't look like it made it down here. But there's also, like, adhesive holding this guy together. Let's pull out some of these ribbon cables. That one looks like it's fine. And the speaker cable needs to come out. And now, we should... Look at that. Crazy what HP used to do. Like, instead of running like a cable to somewhere over here on the motherboard, they would run a cable from this daughter board all the way around up over to there. Alright, so for now what I want to do is I actually want to get the motherboard out, and I'm going to repaste it to see if that helps with the overheating, because the computer's telling me that it's overheating. So, and again, we got these nice little symbols on the board that tell us where screws are supposed to go, depending on the model of computer that you have. Yeah, so some soda or some coffee is standard with most laptops. That is absolutely true. Especially when you're in this industry repairing stuff for people. No, they're taking the best care of it. Like, would you treat your kids like that? Probably. Alright, let's get back to this. So, I know there's a bunch of connections that I'm going to end up having to undo. I don't know if any of them are on the bottom though. So I do have a couple connectors here on the bottom that I need to remove. That's one. And this one, instead of removing it from the motherboard so it loses its time, I'm just gonna, like, there's a little piece of tape on the bottom of this. We're just gonna undo that tape. And that should be it. The rest of what's holding this together is gonna be the cables that are here on the top. So again, I'm going to unplug everything that we see. We're going to have to put this all back together. This cable's seeing better, this computer's seen better days. Excuse me. There we go. Connectors are old. Yep, that is 100% true what you're saying there. Gotta gently get this power cable out. And we need to get one screw out of the fan. Yeah, have you seen the framework laptops? I very much like them. Okay, set that off to the side. Here's the thing we're trying to get to right here. We blew out these already, so they're looking okay. What I want to do is I want to get underneath here, and we're going to replace the thermal compound underneath here. Careful with this fan connector. Last thing we need is that pulling off the board for some reason. That guy's on there. Alright, so we're going to take some alcohol in here. Get both of those wet. We're going to get them clean. I'm going to drink water. No, they're not available over there yet? I thought they were. Now I have another viewer that's from, I believe, Denmark, and he's like, yeah, most of the stuff that you already have access to, I won't get for like another 6 months, which surprised me. That stuff is baked. Yeah, I'm interested in getting one for myself. It's just like there's a large wait time on them. Unfortunately. Yeah, if your thermal paste is like this, where instead of rubbing off, it peels off, you're in for a bad time. All right. Thermal paste. Get a little bit on there. That'll be more than enough when I screw this back on here. And the other thing, when I put this back on here and I screw this in, I need to make sure that this doesn't get bent down and make contact with any of the motherboard components. Make sure I plug that back in as well. And then the other thing is, when you go to tighten these back down, these are actually numbered on which order you should screw them in, so that it puts the ideal amount of pressure on the socket without actually damaging it, seeing as you have bare silicon there. I actually like the Noctua stuff, but I also like the Thermal Grizzly stuff. Yeah, so the thermal paste I use is the Noctua N1 or NTH1 stuff. I used to have like a pretty decent sized one of it, and I like it. So yeah, I gotta. This motherboard even has a little spring over here to support this. Alright, now we plug everything back in and see if that corrects the issue. It'd be nice if it was that. We just got to make sure that all of the cables go where they need to go. Everything gets lined up. And we don't hide any cables under the motherboard. That should not be under the motherboard as we put it back in. The hardest cable for me to plug back in is going to be this guy, which is the DC jack power. Alright, let's get this cable back in here so the laptop gets power. So that's back in there. And now we just have to go through as we're doing this and make sure all the cables that were plugged in on top get plugged back in on top. So that when we go to turn this on, something suddenly is not working. And then we'll start getting screws back in there. Wi-Fi cable, so that's fine. It's that cable, make sure that's out of the way. Yep, and this cable goes right there. I need to check. There was one more tiny cable on the top. That back on there. Get this back in there. Get these cables pulled through first. Just doing a cursory glance over this to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Get this put back down here. Alright, that's in there. Alright, keyboard. Yeah, this laptop has definitely seen better days. Like even this flip connector is starting to show its age here. It looks like it's just, the clip itself is breaking. Right, before we get it all put back together, we're going to power it on. Make sure everything's working. You know what might help? Putting the RAM in. Might help. Plug in our IODD. This is an old AMD Vision A8. Yeah, it's not great, but my main concern is making sure everything is still working. I'm gonna run a nice burn-in test, and we're gonna see if we can get it to overheat again. Yeah, and it just shut itself off. So it looks like there's something else going on with this. This point, I'm not gonna suggest this guy put any money into this thing because it's so old. Probably recommend a data backup and a new computer. But at least this hard drive is easy to get to, so if I need to, like if he wants to just do like a data backup or a clone over to a new PC, that'll be nice and easy peasy. We'll see. I'm gonna get it all the way back together and then we'll do that. I'd be very surprised if there was a fan setting for this thing. With the age of this, and like, because this computer was made at a time where HP was still very like, when you have a problem, just send it to us. We'll take care of it for you. Well, that'll be $600. What did you do? We reinstalled Windows. Yeah, it's a Windows 8, so it's probably a little bit newer than that. I know it looks really old. I don't see any of the manufacture date information on here. Usually there'll be something in here about when it was manufactured. And it doesn't really say. Yeah, like it could definitely be that in that age range for sure. Yeah, you could definitely be right on that. Yeah, you can tell there was adhesive holding this thing down. Yeah, it does. I can even feel it coming out of there. And that was one of the first things that I checked, because I blew it out first. The GPU is at 91C, so that's not much better. And now I'm putting an artificial load on it, so... Yeah, so strangely, it hasn't shut off and the temperature hasn't gone above 95. But the event log is just full of temperature threshold exceeded Recommended temperature 90. Yeah, so I'll just tell this guy that it's time. Yeah, I just think it's time for this guy to replace this entirely. See what he wants to do. Hey, thanks for watching that video. You can check out some of the other videos for more tech-related content. And if you want to catch me live, I am on Twitch at twitch.tv/SpecVengeance, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So come hang out, chat, and maybe learn a thing or two. Thanks for watching.